Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Robert Adams, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Major James Hill. This evening, we warmly welcome the family of Sergeant George Henry Mesh, whose story will be told shortly. We also warmly welcome the delegation from the Papua New Guinea Defence Force Joint Forces Academy and one recruit training unit from the Royal Australian Air Force Base visiting from Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and representatives of the Australian Defence Force Cadets. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Visitors who are able to do so, you may now be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant George Henry Mesh. George Mesh was born in 1892 in Croydon, outback northern Queensland, to Jacob Mesh and Louisa Mesh. Mesh attended Golden Gate State School. By the time the First World War began, he was working as a gold miner at Forsyth. George made his way to Cairns, where he enlisted on the 1st of May 1916. He trained at the 11th Depot Battalion for the next 5 months. On the 6th of November, he was allotted to reinforcements to the 41st Battalion and was promoted to corporal for the duration of the voyage to England. Mesh embarked from Sydney on the 23rd of December 1916 aboard the transport ship Demosthenes. After arriving in England, he joined a training battalion. 2 weeks later, he reported sick and was hospitalised, returning to his training unit in mid-April. He arrived in France at the beginning of July and joined the 41st Battalion, in rest positions near Messines in mid-July. When the battalion went into the front line at the end of the month, Mesh had been promoted to Lance Corporal. Mesh went into his first major battle on the 4th of October when the 41st Battalion was involved in the attack on Bryn Cinder Ridge. Despite the horrendous weather, clinging mud and determined enemy resistance, the 41st Battalion and its sister battalions in the 11th Brigade made good progress along the Zunderbaker-Rulers railway line to capture their objectives. During this battle, Mesh performed the brave deeds that would see him awarded a military medal. Over the next 2 days, the battalion held on against several determined enemy counterattacks, each of which was repulsed. After being relieved from the line on the 6th of October, Mesh was promoted to temporary sergeant. By the 14th of October, the battalion was occupying marshy positions leading to the Raverbake River. The horrendous conditions caused numerous casualties, and Mesh was evacuated suffering from trench feet and trench fever. He was sent to England for treatment and convalescence. While hospitalised, he produced a series of hand-embroidered silk handkerchiefs that he sent home. Mesh was discharged from hospital in early January 1918. His name appeared in King George V's 1918 New Year's Honours, brackets military medal, as a recipient of the military medal, and he was presented with his medal in February. Mesh returned to France in late May and rejoined the 41st Battalion. He next saw action during the Battle of Hamel in July and again during the August offensive, which saw the German army driven back many kilometres on the first day. In mid-August, Mesh was promoted to temporary sergeant, and by the end of the month, the battalion had occupied the village of Hem, where a further advance was planned for the following day. On the 1st of September, the battalion advanced towards Haut Alain. The objectives were reached, but not before some vicious hand-to-hand fighting in Cassa and Yasser trenches. The battalion continued the advance, but heavy and accurate German machine gun fire from the right flank forced the men to retire into their recently gained positions. It was around 9:30 a.m. when Mesh entered the trench, which was around 2 feet deep. A fellow sergeant described what happened. I told him to get down as the trench was being enfiladed. I had hardly got the words out of my mouth when he got a bullet. The bullet entered his right shoulder and passed out at the left side below the ribs, penetrating his lungs. A comrade and I managed to drag him into the deep end of the trench, and I bandaged him up as best I could. All of the battalion's stretcher bearers had become casualties, and it was impossible to evacuate Mesh and the other wounded men due to the heavy German machine gun fire. Mesh succumbed to his wounds around midday. Several days after the battle, Mesh and several others were given battlefield burials, overseen by the battalion's padre, Alf Mills. After the war, Mesh's remains were reinterred in Perone Communal Cemetery Extension. He was 26 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant George Henry Mesh, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.